Hey everybody, welcome to the first ever, what are we going to call this? We'll call it Holding Court with Chris Stevens of First Day Hoops Report. Hopefully everybody's doing well. As you can see, I am home right now in my studio slash basement slash different places where I get my creative inspiration. Yes, this is the first YouTube video I'm doing that is something new and different for us for First Day Hoops Report, obviously, because I'm in isolation. As you can hear and see, I don't look like I have COVID 19, but how did Chris Stevens test positive for COVID 19? Okay, so I have a day job that is with Newcastle County. So we test weekly. So, and we've tested weekly probably since the beginning of the pandemic. So when I tested last week, because we usually test on Mondays at my particular location, we were off Monday, so we tested on Wednesday. Friday night, I get a call from risk management, and they say, "Chris, we regret to inform you," and it's like, huh? What? Really? Seriously? But the good news is, as you can see, I am not on a respirator. I am not in the hospital. I am fine. I am asymptomatic. I still have my sense of smell, my sense of taste. Um, you can probably hear a little congestion, probably because I thought it was just like a typical cold or whatever. But other than that, I'm fine. So I have no complaints. I have no underlying symptoms that, at the moment, that lead me to feel like I would have to go to the hospital. So it's just it just came at an inopportune time because as basketball season is heating up, we are about halfway. We're actually past the halfway point of basketball season because the last day for competition, I believe, if I read the DIA manual correctly, is February 23rd. So we are. It is today is January 24th. So yeah, we're at the halfway point. We're past the halfway point. We're getting close to finding out who's going to be winning Flight A, Flight B, Diamond State, Independent, Henlopen North, Henlopen South, Catholic Conference, all of that. So being at home when I would much rather be out at the games, talking to players, talking to coaches, shooting the breeze with parents, other reporters, and referees, it's not fun. It's not fun. So I am hopeful that when I do my rapid test tomorrow, which will be 5 days after I tested positive originally, that I either had a false positive or I'll get a negative test tomorrow. And then I can be back in the game. Until then, I will be covering the games from home as best I can, following, streams, any information that coaches and parents may give me. Hopefully, there won't be much need for that. So, we'll see what happens. So, the original purpose of this video was sort of kind of be like, well, this is an introduction of sorts. If you've never seen me in person, most of you have by now because this is year 3, and I've been to just about every gym north of Dover. My first trip to First Day Hoops for First Day, my first trip for First State Hoops. There we go. To Dover was last Saturday, and that's why I this week have Dover as my number one boys team. We'll get into the top 10 rankings shortly, but if you've never seen me in person, here's my face. You can't miss the beard though. This isn't going anywhere. I actually grew this beard out real quick. I'm a wrestling fan, huge wrestling fan. Been one since I was about 5 or 6 years old. And the first guy I ever saw with a beard like this was Jim the Anvil Neidhart of the Hart Foundation. Him and Bret Hart were a tag team. And when he passed away not too long ago, Jim the Anvil Neidhart did, and I said, you know what? In tribute to the Anvil, I'm going to grow my beard out like this goatee out. So if you can't see my full face because of the mask, you'll obviously see this peeking out from under the mask. So here I am, Chris Stevens, First Day Hoops Report. Okay. All right. Our top 10 as we enter week 8 of basketball season is Dover High at number 1, Howard number 2, Appoquinimink number 3, Tower Hill number 4, Middletown number 5, Sanford number 6, Salesianum number 7, William Penn number 8, Seaford number 9, and St. Elizabeth's number 10. Now, these top 10s throughout the course of the season have been a source of consternation, if you will, for coaches, players, fans, administrators, so on and so forth. But as my photographer G. Johnson likes to say, it gets the conversation going. And I don't want anybody to think that this is a popularity contest or this is, based on opinion. This is based solely on observation. And I've seen just about every team in my top 10 so far. I finally got to see Penn Saturday night thanks to the stream on Sally's. Now, why do I have Dover number one? I feel like right now they're playing the best basketball of anybody that I could put number one. Howard was playing their best basketball, and I don't want to penalize Howard because, first of all, the only team in Delaware to beat Howard this year is Sanford. And Sanford is going to be very good coming down the stretch, I feel like. New coach with Ty Perry, the former UD point guard. He has them, they're starting to get used to his program now. Because a lot of the guys that were there last year, of course, played for Stan Waterman, who, of course, is now the head coach at Delaware State. And I feel like Sanford just needed to get used to a new voice because Stan Waterman coached at Stanford for 30 years. That is a long time. Like, when you think about it, when you go back to 1991, there wasn't a St. George's. There wasn't, there was still a good public high school basketball community. We'll get more. That's probably another conversation for another day. And he was the dean of high school basketball coaches in Delaware for a very long time. And now, for the first time in 30 years, Sanford has this new voice, and they're getting used to him. He's getting used to, following in some huge footsteps. That's a good team over there. Chris Stanford is probably going to be one of the better bigs once the season ends. Deion Pope has found his shot. Ibuka Nabodo is a very nice post player. I feel like we discounted Sanford because Stan, moved on to greener pastures, if you will. Not greener pastures, newer pastures. So, I feel like Sanford still has the chance to become a potential Final Four team. And that's the only team to beat Howard this year, so that's why I kept Howard at number 2. Apple moving up to number 3 is solely because of them beating Middletown. And Middletown is still a team I feel like has the best chance of anybody to win the state championship. Yes, I am going out on a limb and saying that Middletown is my dark horse. Not my dark horse. Middletown is my favorite to win the state championship as of today. That could change. But I feel like Sally's is going to move up. Sally's played probably the toughest non-conference schedule of, no, not probably, the toughest non-conference schedule of anybody in Delaware. They played Newman Gray. They played Emmetep Charter. They played so many different schools outside of Delaware that would come down to Delaware and give rec. So, now that they're back in state, now that they're back playing, teams that they're used to seeing, and I'm not saying the teams that they're playing aren't good. I'm just saying that Sally still has the talent. They still have Justin Mullen, still have Isaiah Henson. Their role players are starting to step up. Sally's is still very much in the hunt as well. Don't let that 3-6 fool you. That's a really good team. And they play Middletown tomorrow night. I really wish I could be there for that one. Oh, I wish I could be there for that one. But if this test comes back negative, I may shoot down there. But if it doesn't, I'll just have to catch it on a stream. But I feel like that is going to be a game to tell you who has the best chance of those two teams, Middletown and Sally's, to win the state championship. So that's going to be a good one. The rest of the top 10, I feel like I didn't move Tower Hill off of number 4 because right now Tower Hill is playing some really good ball. Moving Middletown down was just a circumstance because they had lost to Appo, and Tower Hill, I just didn't feel like it was fair to penalize them just because they're 8-1, and moving them around is just a little too much. Sanford moving up to 6. Sanford could probably move up to about 5 or 4 too. Right now, 6-1, they're playing some really good ball. Moving Seaford down, watching them lose to Caesar Rodney and Smyrna, I wasn't surprised they lost to the I wasn't surprised that they lost to Middletown because Middletown, once again, very good. Seeing them lose to Caesar Rodney, who had a tough time with Dover the other day, and Smyrna, of course, had a tough time with Dover the other day. That was kind of confusing. I feel like Seaford has to find themselves. They have the talent. They have the coaching. They just need to have a point where they, come to Jesus, if you will. I feel like that's still a very good team. And I still feel like Brent Ricketts is probably the state's best player at this point. If we were voting today, he would have my pick as the state player of the year right now. Once again, it's January 25th. All this could change within a month. And St. Elizabeth's at number 10 right now just feels right. They're a good team. They're beating who's in front of them for the most part. Other than that, other than being upset by Archmere, who I guess I have to find time to see Archmere. I really wanted to make time to see them, but of course they had to move around because most of their team was busy winning the state championship in football. Congratulations to them for that, by the way. So I've got to see Archmere at some point, but I feel like St. Elizabeth's is still a very good team. Jeremiah Herring is probably one of the top 10 or 15 players in the state right now. Kai Rawls is a very good point guard. Their coaching is solid. They just, they ran into Salesian and Buzzsaw, and they got caught off guard by Archmere. Archmere is just very good, and I just haven't had a chance to see them. So that is our boys' top 10. Our girls' top 10, if you give me a second to pull it off my phone. This is what happens when you do stuff on the fly. You kind of have to, just adjust. And we adjust. So, top 10. Sanford stays number 1. St. Elizabeth stays number 2. Caravel stays number 3. Cape holds steady at 4. Appoquinimink stays at 5. We'll talk about that in a minute. Ursuline is number 6. Woodbridge is number 7. Tatnall is number 8. And we have 2 newcomers in our girls' top 10. St. George is at number 9 and Wilmington Charter at number 10. So, Sanford is the odds-on favorite to win the girls' state championship. It would be an absolute stunner to me if they didn't. And as you can see, as I'm doing this video, you can see my face. If you are a fan of any of the other schools and you see me at a game, we can talk about it. Respectfully, of course. Respectfully. And I feel like the only thing that's stopping Sanford right now is game reps because they've been, victimized by cancellations, postponements. They've only played 7 games to date. And for the most part, they've looked like a team that was 2 points away from winning the state championship a year ago. There's not a lot that you can say about this team that hasn't been said already. I mean, you have Dallas Pierce and Zaya Kilgo as your point guards, as your guards that can switch off of each other. You have Abby Meredith as your marksman, your markswoman, your long range shooter. You have Amaya Carroll, who has committed to a Division I school in Monmouth, and Jada Snow as your wings. Anywhere else, you split those 5 girls up at different schools, they're averaging 20 points a game. They are. And for Marcus Thompson to be able to kind of, shepherd that talent is something that I feel like he's capable of doing and has been capable of doing. And Sanford right now is the favorite. I would be stunned. It would be it would take something that I'm not even going to, just like a catastrophe of epic proportions to keep Sanford at least out of the Final Four. Sanford is the one team I'm certain of on the girls' side that makes the Final Four. Anything after that, it is literally anybody's game. Literally anybody's game. I still think that Cape is the second best team in the state. Right now, they just have some, they've played an out-of-state schedule where they played some tough games. Caravel got the jump on them in the fourth quarter of their game, and we'll talk about Caravel in a minute. Now, St. Elizabeth's is still the defending state champions. The road to the Bob, if the championships will be played at the Bob, hopefully we find out about that very shortly, it still goes through St. E. No, they don't have Olivia Lynch. No, they don't have Nia Pulliam, but they still have Rory Siskowski. They still have Erica Huggins. They still have Farrah White, who has really announced herself as one of those pound-for-pound type of players that even though she's not the tallest, she's definitely one with the most heart in the state that I've seen so far this year. She has no fear. She went among the trees against Caravel and got the winning bucket. It wasn't a jump shot that she hit. She went baseline between couple 5'10", 5'11s and got the layup to go. That's hard. That is hard. And St. Elizabeth's still just, even though their bench is a bit of a concern for me, I still feel like their starting 5 is one of the best 2 or 3 starting 5s in the state of Delaware. So once you get past, their lack of depth, the 5 that they have are among the best 5 in the state. You have to catch St. E's on a bad night. And that's what Ursuline was able to do. And we'll talk about Ursuline in a minute. Caravel still has the state's most dynamic player. India Johnston, is a walking bucket. We know about her. Taylor Wilkins being healthy helps them out as far as defense and rebounding. And I feel like they're 3 young guards. If they have that aha moment, I feel like Caravel can give Sanford a fight. those three guards, Josiah Crawford, Amaya Johnson, and Anaya Price, they are capable of getting 15 to 20 points on a given night. They just haven't been able to do it together. If there's a point where they can do it together and take the load off of India, that is going to take them a very long way. We already know that Kristen Caldwell is going to, hype this team up, with her enthusiasm and her coaching. So they'll be in the fight. Like Sanford is, like I said, Sanford is the only team I'm absolutely certain of that is a Final Four team. Everyone else from 2 to 10 could get there. And even the team maybe outside of the top 10 could get there. Ursuline, I feel like John Noonan has done probably one of the better coaching jobs, boy or girl, over the last couple years, keeping his team in the hunt. No, they don't have a Val Whiting. They don't have an Elena Deladon. They don't have an Adriana Hahn. But what they do have is teamwork and timely shooting. They don't have just one player that is going to walk into the gym and beat you. They have 3 or 4 girls that if you leave them open, it is a problem. And a lot of that is just because John Noonan is a tremendous coach. Like, there is no denying that he gets the absolute 110% out of any girl that he puts on the floor. He puts them in the best positions to win. And when I saw them against St. Elizabeth's a couple Saturdays ago, like, they literally just took the fight to St. E in a way that I hadn't seen anybody do over the last 2 years. And granted, that's because St. E, like I said, they don't have Naya, they don't have Libby, but they still have a very good team. And Ursuline just took the fight to them that Saturday. It was shocking to see, but it really wasn't shocking because, again, John Noonan is a tremendous coach. Make no mistake about it. And that team, they may not be physically imposing, but their teamwork is second to none. Absolutely. And I feel like that's another team that could possibly shock us all and make the Final Four at some point and make the Final Four this year. I really do. Rest of the girls' top 10, Appoquinimink and St. George's, they recently played for first place in Flight A. St. George's came out on top of that one. I still feel like, for right now, the better long-term tournament prospects lie with Appoquinimink. They still have tremendous guard play in Kyla Reed, Deja Martin, Adia Jones, Alyssa Crusto. That is still one of the better starting fives, probably a 5 or 6 starting five. Top 5 or 6 starting five. St. George's caught them off guard because St. George's is a unique team. And so is Apple. Most of the girls that are, leaders for that team and scoring and so on would be back the next season, 2022, 2023. And St. George's is one of those teams that faces a conundrum of you have 2 very good players that are capable of getting the shots that you need. You have Aaliyah Richardson, who's a junior, who was a huge part of St. George's first ever conference championship team 2 years ago. And then you have Speedy Reed, who is a first year guard who lives up to her name. Like, she can get by people at will and get to the bucket. That's something that Coach Matt Pecorella probably just has to, be flipping a coin, before a game. Okay, am I going to get it to Aaliyah first? Am I going to get it to Speedy first? It's tough. I don't envy his job at all. But right now, St. George's, is the leader in Flight A, but I still feel like for the long term, Appoquinimink may have the better tournament prospects. But either way, those are 2 very good teams. Tatnall, meanwhile, hasn't lost to anybody that I would say knocks them down a peg. Like the Caravel game, Tatnall got the looks in the Caravel game. They just didn't knock them down. And that's the hard part. You have to make your shots. And Caravel was short 2 players because of, protocol. And Tatnall took it to them. But Caravel just had an answer at the end. Like, they just had just a little more grit and grind. I still think the Kirby sisters are very talented. Kaylee Clayton is a very good point guard. And Cherish Bryant is going to be very good in the future. But they still have a couple games with Sanford to go. I think they play Archmere or Ursuline at some point. I have to check the schedule again. But I think Tatnall is still very good. I don't know if they're a Final Four team, but I think they may win a game or 2 in the tournament. Wilmington Charter's 8-0. And I wanted to see if Delmarva Christian could, and I'm not going to say Delmarva Christian's a bad team by any stretch of the imagination, but just putting Wilmington Charter in the top 10 by virtue of that victory because that's the only Delaware. No, that's not the only Delaware team. Caesar Rodney beat Delmarva Christian. Sorry about that. But Wilmington Charter right now is 8-0. They're one of the last of the unbeatens in the state of Delaware. Woodbridge is the other, and Woodbridge is very talented too. If you would force me to pick a Final Four from the girls' side, I don't know if I could do it. I will try. I'll say this: Sanford, obviously. I think Cape gets there. St. Elizabeth or Caravel could get there. Ursuline, Apo, maybe St. George's. Yeah, I would say there are 7 teams with a bona fide shot. Anybody else, I think, would kind of sort of be a surprise, but you never can tell. You never can tell. That's why they play the games, as Chris Berman likes to say. That's why they play the games. And if you had to pick boys Final Four, I think that's a little easier. No, that's not. No, it's not. Because this is a year, probably the first year that I've been doing this since I've been covering high school basketball in Delaware for over a decade. So I worked for the News Journal, I worked for the Dover Post, and I've started my own thing, of course, with First State Hoops. So I've seen some years where it's been like, could be anybody's game, but this is a year where it literally could be anybody, and including anybody outside the top 10. But my Final Four, if I had to pick one today for the boys, Middletown, Howard, Tower Hill, Salesian. That's who I have right now. And that could change at any given day. But I wanted to close this out by talking about a poll we did on First State Hoops Report's Twitter account. If you're not following us on Twitter, it's FS Hoops Report, FSHOOPSREPORT. There you go. We did a 2-day poll about should we have an open tournament again like we did last year. 61% of the people that voted said yes. 39% said no. I want an open tournament for just another year because I feel like we didn't expect to be still in the throes of a pandemic. Like, I obviously didn't expect to test positive for COVID. But as you can see, it's definitely in a comes and goes type of thing. Like, I'm super asymptomatic. Like, I'm not sick. I don't feel sick. I'm at home and I don't want to be at home. I'm used to being at work, and then I'm used to going to games. So sitting at home right now is tough for me. And it's probably tougher for the kids too. Like, kids who were planning on having great senior years in basketball and other sports, they probably didn't expect to be going through these protocols for a second year. And one more game for most of these seniors is not going to hurt because everybody that was good enough to advance last year in the state tournament did. There was no surprises in the boys' Final Four. There were no surprises in the girls' Final Four. The Final Four for the girls last year: Woodbridge, Henlopen champions; Sanford, Independent Conference champions. They were 17-2 going into the state championship game, I think. St. Elizabeth went undefeated. They went 15-0, won the whole year. Caravel had the most dynamic player in the state last year, and they rallied around her. There were no surprises on the girls' side. Boys' side, there were no surprises. Sanford, of course. Tower Hill, those were the 2 best teams to me. Smyrna, and Salesian. Those were the best 4 boys' teams. Everybody that was good enough to advance from the open tournament format last year did. There were no surprises, there were no upsets, there were no super shocks. I feel like it won't hurt to give most of the kids that want to have one last time on the court, because a lot of these kids are not going to play college basketball. A lot of these kids are probably going to either go into the workforce or just be regular college students. One more time on the floor with their teammates and with their coaches doesn't hurt anybody. I know we are dealing with a referee shortage. You don't have to tell me twice. I've seen Mr. Hiram Watley Sr. at way more games than I've expected to. We run into each other like, hey, you here again. So it's tough. Like, yeah, there is a point where, when we're dealing with a referee shortage. We're obviously dealing with, COVID still. We're still dealing with, protocol, fans being asked to stay away, only one parent or one spectator per player. But having these kids who have worked so hard, and the kids are doing the right thing. One thing I'll say, editorializing off the record about, this whole pandemic, is the adults are worse than the kids. The adults are absolutely worse than the kids. The kids are doing everything right. The kids are doing everything they can do. And I don't think it's fair to jeopardize or penalize them, because most of the adults don't have the common sense to say that you should wear a mask, or you should get your shots, or you should wash your hands thoroughly. These are things that we teach people at a young age, and we have adults that are backlashing that. But that's not fair to the kids. So that is why I am in favor of an open tournament just for one more year. Because I feel like we'll be done with this at some point in the next 12 months. And then we can go back to a, top 24 ring. But just for one more year. If the basketball committee would consider it, if DIAA would consider it, if the public health department would consider it, if the board of etiquette would consider it, the kids would be grateful. And yes, I'm playing the "Won't Someone Please Think of the Kids" card here. Let's think of the kids, because they deserve at least one more chance on the court. And that's all. And that's going to do it for the first edition of Holding Court with Chris Stevens on First Day Hoops Report's YouTube feed, Greatly appreciate y'all for watching. You can check all of our videos on our YouTube channel at First Day Hoops Report. We're up to 50 subscribers now. If we get up to 100, I can change the YouTube feed to YouTube/First Day Hoops Report. So we have about 50 more subscribers to go. So tell a friend to tell a friend. Subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever we upload a new video. And that will keep you in the know with everything that's going on. So thank you all for listening. Greatly appreciate your time. Everybody out there on the court, best of luck. Stay safe. Hopefully I test negatively soon enough, and I'll be back out there with you. Peace out.